Hello, everybody. So, happy Valentine's Day, first off. I realize it's a holiday, so many of you may not be on, but then again, some of you, like me, may still be on YouTube. But, I usually don't make too many videos or post them, and if I do, I make them before and then upload them. But this is the first live video I've done. I'm usually on here to watch silly stuff like Markiplier. I love Markiplier. He is hilarious, cracks me up, especially when he plays FNAF. If you don't know what FNAF is, well then I'm sorry, you're just missing out. But anyways, I wanted to get on here and share some things with you guys. Like I said, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. But you know, I typically don't celebrate Valentine's Day because I don't know. I've had kind of a rough life, I guess. Like every Valentine's Day, it seemed like either A, I was not with anybody, or B, I was with a worthless somebody, or in the occasion of 3 years ago, I just didn't even care to be alive, let alone celebrate anything. So, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. 3 years ago, like I said, 3 years ago today, as a matter of fact, I just remember feeling, and of course it had been happening over time, it builds up, and I'm sure there's plenty of others of you out there that know this feeling or have known this feeling. It's just like this deep darkness, just, I felt horrible, like my life was just awful. Nothing was going right. I mean, I had two great kids, but one of those kids, she told me daily at the age of, I think she was 4 or 5 then. Yeah, 3 years ago, she'd have been 5. She told me she hated me, like, every day. We were dealing with a lot with her because she was also going through other things where she was beating up her younger brother, who was only 2 at the time. And anyways, it was horrible. It was a horrible life, and I felt like I couldn't give my kids a good life because, I'm prior military. I would say I was, but I'll always be prior military. But so I'm a veteran. I had, I had a lot dealing with in my mind with that because it's a lifestyle. I don't know how many of you know. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, if you can't handle the military, then don't go in it. It's not a can't handle thing. It's a lifestyle change. It's a completely different life from being in the military than it is from being a civilian. Even if you don't see combat, it's still completely different. And to go from one extreme to the next can be traumatizing for a person. So, I mean, I went from a life of uniformity, solidity, assuredness, to everything's crazy and chaotic. Nothing's guaranteed. At least in the military, I had guaranteed 3 meals a day. I had a place to sleep all the time. And, I had brothers that backed me up. And, we were there for each other. And then I got out of the military and I had none of that. God forgive me, y'all. I'm going to get emotional. Because I loved my military life. I got out early for several reasons, but I ended up with PTSD from some things that had happened. That I really rather just not discuss. It's not just military though. It's other things that have happened in my life that have caused it. But I got out of the military and it's like I had nobody. Like nobody seemed to care. Like the few people I did put my trust in, they stabbed me in the back and they betrayed me. And it made me bitter. It made me dark. I mean, I closed myself up. I locked everything inside. And when I did try to share my feelings, it came out so rough and so raw that nobody could handle it. And it was like over dramatized because, like I said, I held it all in. So when I did let it out, it exploded. And I didn't have that sense of brotherhood, and it was hard. It was really hard for me, I ended up getting married, and after I had 2 of my children, one of them I had conceived from being taken advantage of, but I kept him because I don't believe in ending a life that didn't even ask to be here in the first place. Now, by any means, I'm not saying that if you're pro-choice that you're wrong, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's me. That's me. I'm pro-life, and I took that upon myself to deal with. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I did battle it. I battled the thought of abortion or adoption. But when I met my child, that was it. The decision was made. I was keeping him. He was mine. He was my baby, and that's it. And he's a great kid, but I'm not saying the battle wasn't hard. And there's still some days where I look at him, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see parts of his father in him. But anyhow, I just, beyond that, I mean, of course, okay, so, I went through a situation with that, a exploitive situation. But, I also, just, like I said, I had gotten married and I had 2 kids, and the guy I married, we're still married now, but when we got together, he was completely different. Like, he was lying all the time. I didn't know it. I took him for his every word. He was telling me things and then going behind my back and telling his friends and family other things. I mean, he can even tell this to you, and he's disclosed that I can share this information several times over, and I have over the past, but this is probably the most in-depth I've gotten over this. But like I said, I put my trust in him, and I felt like he was probably the one person I could count on. I was living in Ohio and moved up there to go to school, and I ended up, getting pregnant, so I had to drop out of school. I'm still a Buckeye by heart, though, so if you're a Buckeye, woohoo, go Bucks. OH, yo. But anyways, so, I had, I had put all my trust in him, and I felt like, like, that was the only thing I could cling to. And then I found out he was lying to me. We decided to move down to Louisiana, and, because I had gone through some things with his family. His family hated me. I've later found out, like I said, that it was because of things that he was telling his family. He was telling his family that we weren't together, and that we were never married, and this, that, and the other. And the truth is, we were married. We still are. And so I ended up, they caused a lot of drama. I ended up getting evicted from where I was. So me and my kids were on the street. We had a friend, a very dear friend, that took us in and allowed us to stay there, I think for like 2 months, before I finally decided it was time to move on from Ohio. I mean, we tried to find a place there in Ohio, but we just had no luck. We had a lot of issues because of things that had happened with his family. But anyways, so I moved down here to Louisiana. And when I moved down here, I came down with my son, and my daughter stayed up there with him. And I came down here and tried to find us a place, so we could settle and whatnot. Well, while I was down here, like I said, I also found out while I was down here, because I have a very good friend that was up there, that she babysat for me. But she'd found out some things because she had feelings about my husband being a backstabber, basically. And so she did some background whatever for me, and without me even asking her, and she found out a lot, told me this information. I verified the information, and then he, of course, he denied it, and then he's like, oh no, I'm coming down there, because he was basically making it sound like he was going to find a way to get Holly down here, my daughter, down here, without him having to come down here, or just drop her off, and then he was going to leave. Well, he denied it. He said, no, I've got a trailer. I'm going to get all of our belongings, and I'm going to bring it down there to Louisiana so that you guys have everything. Because, we had nothing. My son Gabriel and I came down here with a few, like 2 suitcases. One of them had his clothes in it. One of them had a few of my clothes in it, just a few of them, because, it was winter time, so I grabbed our winter stuff, and that was it. And I grabbed a tote of toys for him to play with, and that was it. And oh, I think I grabbed a game system for me. I had a PlayStation 2. I still have it, as a matter of fact. I had a PlayStation 2 that I played, and I played. This is how bad my life was. Okay, I played Grand Theft Auto, the San Andreas, but I only played it so I could blow people up. I walked around in the game and I just shot at people, stabbed people, and just blew people up. I killed cops in my game and everything. And oh, I'm completely back the blue though, 100%. My husband is a sheriff's deputy, so I do back the blue, and he's a good guy. So you guys don't hate on me because he's a cop. You know, we don't believe in the whole, you know, we should see things differently because you look different or come from a different culture. You know, we're not like that. I'll go into that different later though. But anyways, back to where I was. So yeah, my life was horrible. So I got on that game, you know, every now and then to release some aggression, or at least I tried to. But in all actuality, sometimes the game made me more mad because I ended up getting caught by the cops and lost all my money, blah, 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 you know. But anyways, so I was just I was in a really low place, you know. I felt like no matter what I did, I just couldn't come out of this. I mean, I tried everything. I tried alcohol. I tried, you know, with alcohol, it was just like I could feel good for a minute, but you know, it really wasn't going away. It's just like I got a buzz, I got a high, and that was it. You know, I got high, you know, and just nothing worked. I tried, you know, I mean, I'm a musician, so I played music. I was in a band. I tried, you know, just doing things there with the musicians, and nothing worked. You know, I tried even seeking, like, going outside of my own relationship, like, and my husband was okay with it. You know, I went to other females. That didn't work either. You know, I started dabbling in, like, other, what do you call it, like pagan stuff, beliefs and stuff, and that didn't work. It just made my life even darker. I mean, I had so much just built up and pent up. I mean, I tried everything, food, everything, like nothing made anything feel better. So I slept all the time. I just slept, and sometimes I couldn't go to sleep, and it was just like, because, you know, sleeping too much. So I had to force myself to go to sleep. I would do things to make myself go to sleep. And it was horrible. And then, like I said, when I moved down here, I ended up really sick, because of everything that was going on. I ended up with pneumonia. It was really bad. I mean, I could barely breathe, I could barely move, but I still had to go to work. You know, I mean, I went to work, and I was working at Waffle House, which is a great place to work. I loved Waffle House. I still eat there. And you know, I was dealing with, we had a manager there, and she was awful. But like, she was just, she started a lot of drama. You know, she was one of those people that stirred up trouble, you know, just to see how it pans out. And she started up a lot of drama and a lot of trouble. And I mean, I got into it a couple times with her. And then she ended up leaving, and another manager came in, but then she came back. I don't know, but I was gone by then. But anyhow, I couldn't seem to really just, you know, keep my head focused. Like, even at work, I was losing my mind on customers. I was losing my mind on the people at work. And I have a really good friend I still talk to. His name is Thomas, and he could tell you, like, I was an awful person to deal with. Like, everybody hated it when I was coming in. Like, oh, Rachel's coming in. Oh, you know, I was awful. I mean, I just had this somber note to my life, I guess. You know, it was sour. And I had this, in my own head, I had this darkness. I mean, like, I felt like, you know, nobody cared. I mean, I moved down here to Louisiana, and this is by no means offense to my family at all, because I love my family, but my own family wouldn't even take me in because of the things that they knew were going to happen. I mean, my stepdad, I knew it too, that if I moved in, it would cause all kinds of drama, and I would end up in a fight. And I just, I'm one of those people that, you know, I'm a grown person. I was one of those people where I'm a grown person. You're not going to give me your rules and force me to abide by them because I'm not a child anymore. I was like that. And, you know, it's just, so I couldn't even live with my mom, my stepdad. So I ended up moving in with my best friend. And I completely messed up that life, like altogether. She and I both had a kid. We actually got pregnant the same day. We were due the same day with our oldest children. And so, you know, we've always been close. Like, we knew each other since I was in, like, I don't know, 7th grade, something like that. But I don't know, it's been a long time. I know that she's been like my best friend forever. And she and I got into it because, you know, I mean, I had this darkness. I felt like I looked at things like the world was out to get me. I literally saw it like everybody else was wrong. Like, how can people not see my point of view? That's how I felt, you know, like, how can people not get it? And, you know, I felt like her kid was targeting me. I mean, she kept trying to tell me, you know, maybe you just need to do this, maybe you just need to do that. And she was right. You know, I mean, I mean, like I said, I slept all the time. I was depressed. I was in this darkness, you know, and I got into it with her, a physical altercation with her one night over her kid, you know, because I was an idiot. I had, you know, her kid had taken something out of my room, but I mean, it wasn't even that big of a deal. But it upset me because it was a gift from somebody, and it was a gift from my husband. And at that time, still, I'd still believed that, you know, everything was kosher between he and I. And, you know, I got upset and I went after him. Like, I was yelling at him, screaming, flipping out. And she lost her mind on me, and we got into a fist fight. I ended up moving out because of it, and we moved into this little bitty 2-bedroom shack. Literally, it was falling apart. My little son and I, and waiting for my husband and my daughter to arrive down here from Ohio. We had this. I mean, it was literally a shack. It had plywood, I have to think of the name of it, for floors. The drywall was like smashed in, looked like somebody had gone into like a punching fit in the majority of the rooms. The rooms, like, it looked like 4 corners of a house got shoved together. That's what it looked like. Because, like, in between each room, like where the doorways were, you could literally look down through the floor and see the ground. There were cracks in the floor, probably about that wide, where you could see the ground underneath the house. And it was awful. Like, I mean, it was stayed cold in there. We had like a little propane heater, like one of those little room heaters, you know, and I think it would run out after like an hour. It was horrible. I had this little bitty tank that I had to fill up, and it cost $21 to fill it up every single time. And we stayed cold. So, you know, we slept on the floor. We had no furniture. We had nothing, you know. So, I mean, my life was like crap, okay? Well, a friend ended up giving us some furniture. I found a bed for my son at a little thrift shop. And he had a bed, but I slept on a mattress on the floor. And somebody had given me a mattress and some blankets. But I mean, that was it. I mean, we had no means to cook. Like, the stove, we had a stove. The landlord provided a stove, but it was never hooked up. Like, it had gas hooked up to it, but like the oven wouldn't work, and it took him forever just to come and get the gas hooked up. So I ended up having to use a microwave. I bought a microwave for like $20 at Walmart, and so I used a microwave. We ate a lot of TV dinners and stuff that could be microwaved, and then cold stuff. It took us like 3 weeks to get a refrigerator in there so I could just keep milk. So I would have to go to the store every day and buy something, and then cook it that day, or otherwise, we wouldn't be able to keep it. We kept dry food, and that was it. And we couldn't even really keep that much of that because we had no storage space. Like, the kitchen was completely bare. There were no shelves, no nothing. And it was horrible. Like, the bathroom, the toilet, leaked, so you had to shut the water off in between using the bathroom. Otherwise, it'd be water all over the floor in the bathroom. It was horrible. But then, like I said, obviously we lived in a bad spot, but it was what we could afford. It was $400 a month, and so that's all I could afford. I was working a Waffle House, making tips. Nobody tips these days, so I really barely could even afford that. But so I was sitting here, just thinking about it and how horrible my life was, just gave y'all a picture. Like I said, I just lost my best friend, and now I moved into this little shack, and I couldn't get along with my family. I went over to my mom's every now and then to spend some time with my grandfather, and then that was like the only highlight of my life, was going to see my grandfather, because my grandmother had already passed away the year that my son was born. She passed away right after he was born, as a matter of fact, New Year's. My grandfather was he always saw good in me. He always told me I was a queen, and that I was beautiful, and I had meaning, and he loved me, and always told me these wonderful things, about me, about myself, and he made me feel like I was loved, wanted. So, I'd go over there and see him. And then, my husband ended up coming down with my daughter, and all the things that I was being told by my friend were realized. They were brought into light. They were truth. He brought with him down my daughter and a suitcase of her clothes. There was no trailer, no furniture from our old house. My daughter had no toys with her, nothing. Everything was left up there. Like I said, I was a musician. I had $5,000 worth of music equipment that was left up there. Took a major loss. And yes, things can be replaced, but you gotta think about how that affected my mindset at the time. Because I was already angry all the time. I was already so depressed and felt like I was just in this darkness constantly. And to top it all off, he brought with him one backpack with 3 days change of clothes in it. That was it. 3 days change of clothes. He was planning on coming down, dropping my daughter off, getting him some butt, and then taking off while I was at work one day and just leaving. I didn't have a babysitter at the time for my kids, and I think that part of that is what foiled his plan. That and the fact that his mom finally went to the courthouse and seen for herself the marriage certificate on file, and called him out on it, basically. So he was stuck. She told him, "Don't come back. You lied to me. You're not welcome back here." So he was stuck. And now I was stuck with somebody who didn't want me. Somebody else who didn't want anything to do with me. Somebody else who looked at me like a burden. Why would I even want to go home? I didn't want to go home. The only reason I had to go home was my kids. And then my daughter started acting up. Like I said, she was 4 or 5 then. I think she was 4. She was 4 at the time, before, no. I think she had just turned 5. That's right, she had just turned 5. She started acting up. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that we moved down here from Ohio. She was pulled away from her father's side of the family. But, like I said, I had no choice. I came down here, for one, to be with my grandfather, because I wanted to see him before he passed away. And then second off, because of the whole issue where, we just couldn't find a place. And later come to find out that we couldn't find a place because we weren't looking. I was looking, but it really should have just been looking for myself and my kids. So you need to get down. Sorry, I have a toddler in here. Get down. Thank you. Thank you. Anyhow. So, I was just dealing with all this mess. And so sorry, I lost train of thought there. So now I had to deal with this person living with me who didn't want me. He always had an attitude towards me. Like I said, I didn't have a babysitter, so before he showed up, I was bringing my kids to work, and just letting them sit there all night while I worked Waffle House, and letting them color or fall asleep at the table, whatever, which typically what my son would do is fall asleep at the table. Well, I ended up getting in trouble one night because my son was awake and he went running through the kitchen, and they saw it on camera, and they told me we weren't allowed to bring the kids back anymore. And I was like, oh, yeah. And so I had to find a babysitter. So I had to travel from Amite to Hammond, and then back to Amite again to bring my kids to a babysitter. And if you don't know where that is, I mean, it's like a 30-minute drive. Well, maybe not, maybe 20-minute drive, both, one way. So, I was using a lot of gas just to bring my kids to a babysitter because I couldn't find anybody local. And I couldn't ask my best friend to watch them anymore because I just lost my best friend because I got into a fist fight because of my stupidity. But, so I just, and then my ex, I don't know why I keep calling him my ex. He's not my ex. My husband. I mean, the old him is my ex, I guess you could say, because he's not that person anymore. But he wouldn't watch him. He didn't want to watch him. He gave me attitude. Anytime I'd ask him to watch him, he didn't want to watch them. They weren't his kids. Why should he want to watch them, right? And he was, from what I understand, he was contemplating divorce. And so I was like, you know what? All right, fine. I want to get a divorce too, right? So, you okay? Come here. Come here. You want to meet my little toddler? He's what we call my mini moose. Hey, mini moose. You broke? You're not broke. You're fine. I'm broke. You say hi. I'm broke. Oh. Yeah, box. Yep. Okay. So anyway, I started thinking about divorce, and I started talking to people about, what they think I should do. I had a friend who was going through not a similar situation. He was going through a situation where he was looking at divorce too, and thought him and his girl were going to get divorced. And so I had all this stuff going on, and like I said, I was already feeling in darkness, and then this just added to it, and things just steadily got worse. And then at the beginning of February, I think it was like February 2nd, my grandfather passed away. And I was at work when it happened, so I couldn't even be there for him. I couldn't even be there in the same room to tell him goodbye. And I went from feeling like darkness is surrounding me to there being a black hole inside my chest. The one very one person who always made me feel like I was good enough, who never had any criticism for me, never made me feel like I wasn't doing something right. He was gone. That was it. I had nothing left, with the exception of my kids. And like I said before, my 5-year-old told me every day she hated me. She wished I would die. She told me that She wanted to go back to Ohio and live with her dad because her dad let her do whatever she wanted. And and then my son, he was 2, so he couldn't really talk, much. I mean, he did talk, but he didn't really understand what's going on, and he just, careful. He was just too little, and I felt like he deserved better than somebody who worked at Waffle House that couldn't really make tips. And I was so angry, I was afraid that, I was going to end up hurting him or his sister. And so I was like, you know what? He deserves better. Like I said, I felt like this black hole was in my chest, and it was just sucking all of me into it, and I couldn't escape. Everything was turned against me. Everything. I felt like I was never going to be able to do anything right again. Never. I had so much anger towards everyone else. I had, especially my husband, I had so much anger built up against him because of what was going on with him and the lies and the deceit. And then abandoning everything we had ever worked so hard for in Ohio to come down here and bring nothing. Taking that huge financial loss. And then him coming down here with only a few clothes for my daughter. I felt like I had to start all over again. I had nothing. He came down here for Christmas, and I used what little bit of money I made in tips to get my kids a few Christmas gifts. And we couldn't even celebrate Christmas on Christmas because he had delayed coming so much. Like, he was hesitant about coming down here. And he was supposed to be down here before Christmas. He ended up didn't come down here until like almost mid-January. So, I was just like, okay. My life sucked. I was literally in a pit. And I couldn't get out. No matter what I did, I could not get out. I had this god-awful feeling like I was on this ride that I couldn't get off. I couldn't control it. Nothing I could do would make it better. No matter how much money I made, it wouldn't make it better. No matter what I did. I could drink, it wouldn't make it better. And I was going to this church. A friend of mine had invited me to this church. And I was going to that, but even that really wasn't helping because I had just had this wall up. I didn't really want to talk to anybody. I felt like I was going to be judged. Yeah, you're wearing a hat. I see that. You're so cute. Yeah, hat. Sorry. Yeah, box. Yeah. So, all my life, going to churches and stuff, like even in Ohio, like every church I went to, I felt like I was being judged. If I tried to get involved in the church, they turned me away because I didn't look like a Christian. Because I had 2 kids outside of a marriage. And that wasn't acceptable. So I didn't look like a Christian. So, going to this church, I had a wall up. Like, nope, you're not finding out anything about me. I don't want you to know anything about me because I'm not into being judged. I'm here to try to find something other than my crappy life that's going on. Something positive outside of my crappy life because my life sucks right now. And I don't feel like dealing with any y'all's judgment. That's literally how I felt. So, like I said, I was going to this church and I just went just to go to see if I could find something bitter, but I really only found more bitterness. I had so much hatred built up inside my heart that everything that any of the pastors would say would just sound like trash to me. It's just like, yeah, if things were really that easy, whatever. Things were really that easy, my life wouldn't be the way it is right now. You know, because I've tried believing in God. I tried giving my whole life to God. And every time I did, my life would get worse. So what's the point? Whatever. This is BS. Literally. That's what I said. Well, one day, I have this person that I really look up to. She's, I consider her a friend of mine. I've only spoken to her a few times, but the little bit we have spoken to has been so deep, so intimate, that it has changed my life. She wrote a book. Of course, a lot of you may have heard of her. Her name is Lacey Sturm. She used to be lead singer of Flyleaf. She wrote a book, and I heard something from her at one point. I think it was on Instagram. She had posted a video or something, or maybe she wrote something on Instagram with posted a picture or something. I don't remember. But and she was advertising her book that was coming out, and I was like, I'll get it, I'll check it out. And actually didn't even really talk to her until after this book came out, so she didn't even know me then, or she may not even remember me now. But she posted about this book, and it's called The Reason. And I have it. It's out here. It's on my bookshelf. I have all kinds of stuffed bears, and so I'd have to move them, and that's too much to do right now while I'm trying to do this video. But she'd released this book called The Reason, and it was basically a testimony of her life going through very similar situations to what I went through. Some of the stuff that she witnessed is even darker than what I went through. Of course, at the time, I felt like my life was just that was my lowest point. I had been abused as a kid, not by my mom, but my mom's ex-husband. And then, of course, I was abused by other kids in my school. I was bullied. And then, on top of that, the bullying carried on throughout my life. I was bullied by other people growing up, including my son's father. I was abused by him. I was abused by other exes before. I was actually engaged to a guy while I was pregnant with my daughter, and his was more verbal abuse than anything. He was never physical, and he had his up moments where it was like everything was great, but when everything was down, it was down, and I was made to feel like trash. And I felt like trash. I literally was convinced I was trash from the point where I was in grade school all the way up to this day 3 years ago. And so, like I said, I seen the thing on Lacey's thing where it's Instagram where she was advertising her book. So I went on Amazon and I pre-ordered it. I had gotten taxes back, and so I pre-ordered it. And it came out shortly before Valentine's Day. I don't remember when it came out, but I remember getting it in the mail when it finally did release. And I got it in the mail, and I started reading it, and the whole beginning of the book is just talking about how much her life sucked. And so I really was only in the beginning part of it. And I was sitting, and of course, she was lead singer of Flyleaf, and she's got all this positive, inspiring music. And of course, like I said, I only got through the first part of the book, the beginning of the book. So I was like, man, she sings all this stuff for God, and yet her life sucks this bad. What is the point? Why? So, I contemplated, and Valentine's Day 2015, I decided that was it. I was done. I was going to give my son a life better than what he deserved, and by giving him to somebody else. My husband was working for a security company. He was an armed guard, so he had he carried a 9mm, He kept it at home with him. Well, on Valentine's Day, like I said, he was off Valentine's Day, and he took the kids and went to the store, and he was going up there to get beer. And I said, when he gets back, I won't be here anymore. That's it. I'm done. I went to his top drawer where he kept his 9mm, pulled it out, went over to the bed, made sure it was loaded, and I had the gun in my mouth, about to pull the trigger. And just then, I heard something at the front door, and I hurried up, pulled the gun out of my mouth, and shoved it under my pillow, and my 2-year-old Gabriel came walking through the door with the mail in his hand. Lacey's book was in there. Sorry, yeah. And that's when I started reading it. Yeah, I got a little off track there, but he came in the door with the mail in his hand, and Lacey's book was in there, and I felt like something was telling me I need to read that book. So, 2 weeks down the road, like I said, I had only gotten through the first part of the book. I was like, what's the point? I'm going to do it again. I'm going to try again. It was a Sunday, and we went to church that Sunday, but I had it all planned out, just like Lacey did. She had it planned out that she was going to end her life, and her grandmother forced her to go to church. What is it with churches, right? So I go to church, and with my kids are in nursery. My husband and I are sitting next to each other in the church, and Pastor Bray Sibley, he is the lead pastor of our church. He was doing the offering sermon, I guess. He was supposed to only just basically, convince people to give an offering, and at least that's how I looked at it anyways. You're just trying to convince people to give you money. Well, he ended up going off on a tangent and started preaching through the whole service. He was up there for a good hour, and the pastor who was supposed to preach didn't even really get a chance to go up there and say anything. So poor Pastor Evan, he was like, well, there goes service. But at that point, we had an altar call and everything. But to go back, like I said, I had everything planned out. As soon as my dad is at work, baby. So I had it all planned out. The kids, Lewis was gonna go to the store to get some chicken or whatever it was to cook that night. We had a little barbecue pit. We were gonna cook outside on the barbecue pit because, like I said, we didn't have a stove or an oven that worked. So, anyhow, oh, don't close that door, please, Moses. And now it's dark in here. Open the door, please. Open it. Open it. It's hot. Open the door. Open it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, anyway, so I was going to send him to the store to get the chicken, and while he was gone, I was going to end my life. And we went to church. I had this plan in my head. Like I said, Pastor Bray ended up speaking through the entire sermon. And what he said just kind of spoke to my soul. He was talking about waking up and how America sucks right now because of all the division and all the hatred that was traveling through America. This is before the whole Black Lives Matter thing. Moses! I guess we're just going to have to deal with darkness. Anyhow, so, but what he said spoke to me. He was talking about veterans and how we need to honor our veterans and we need to honor America. And that spoke to me. He's like, like I said, I'm a veteran. And it made me wake up. It really did, because it made me remember that brotherhood. And the things he was saying made me think, maybe this guy knows what it's really all about. And it made me remember the whole issue that I had felt, where I felt like I had nobody to trust. And so I started thinking, all right, God, if you're real, maybe you could show me there is a reason to trust again. Maybe there is a reason for me to, sorry, y'all, I'm going to try to open that door back up because it's so dark and it's nice outside and it's hot in this house. Anyhow, so, here we go. Let there be light. So, anyhow, so, I started remembering that brotherhood. And I felt like something was telling me, yeah, you can believe in that brotherhood because it is a real thing outside of the military. And so, like I said, when he was done, Pastor Evan, who was supposed to be preaching that service, went up and ended up doing an altar call instead because what Pastor Bray said was so profound. I went up to the altar and was like, all right, let me feel that brotherhood again. Let me feel like I have somebody to trust again. And I decided to change my mind and give it a try. I didn't end my life that day, obviously. So I went home and I picked up that book and I started reading more. And I actually ended up finishing the book in like 2 days. I had only gotten through like the first 3 chapters or something like that. And I ended up finishing the book. And, I read how, what Lacey went through, in her testimony. If you've never heard it, you got to look it up. Lacey Sturm's testimony. But, how the pastor basically called out suicidal spirits. Every day we lose so many people to suicides because they feel exactly how I felt back then. And I can honestly say that I'm glad I didn't, because there's so much I would have missed out on. And, I wanted to share this because I want somebody else to know. I read that book by Lacey, and I seen that I wasn't the only one that felt like that somebody else did. And she came out of it. She was brought out of it. She yoked up to something greater that helped her pull the weight and get rid of it and turn around and crumble it. And that's what I did too. I know there's other people out there that feel like this, that feel like they have nobody, like nobody cares, nobody loves them, or that, everybody hates them, they're worthless, they're trash, everything they do is wrong, nothing they do can go right. I know how it feels. I've been that person. I have literally put a gun in my mouth and tried to commit suicide, and if it wasn't for my son, I probably would have. I want y'all to know that you're not alone. I know that stuff is real. I know that feeling is real. I know that feeling all too well. I know that darkness. I know that pit, that black hole that's in your chest that feels like you just can't step out of it because it just keeps dragging you back in. I know how that feels. And you're not alone. If you're military, you're not alone. You may not be in the military anymore. And I know dealing with a lot of stuff that we deal with in the military sucks. I didn't see combat a lot. I only saw like a little bit. And I was in the Navy, so I wasn't really in the middle of it. I never had to deal with, worrying about stepping on an IUD. I never had to worry about watching my brothers blow up. But I seen a lot of my brothers come back injured. When we were underway, I've seen a lot of our Marines come back missing limbs on the ship, come back onto our ship missing limbs. I've seen helicopters get shot out of the sky by the enemy, and know that my brothers are out there, and know that my brothers were on it. I've lost a lot of good friends. I've lost a lot of brothers to suicide because of PTSD. I had one friend, before he even got out of the military, stood on the quarterdeck of our ship and stuck his watchman's gun to his head. And that I was close to that kid. You know, and to know this kind of stuff, to know you guys are out there and you feel like this, and to know that how you feel, and feel like there's nobody out there, that's not true. You know, I mean, I may not be where you are, but I'm here for you. You know, I ask everybody to share this for some veteran out there, you know. I know it's real. Even if you're not a veteran, you just go through a lot of crap, had a hard life. I know that too. Because, I mean, like I said, I was bullied. I was abused as a kid. I was bullied all the way up until, I'm still bullied today. You guys have no idea how much I deal with, you know. But the difference is now I have something better. I have a hope. You know, I have something that I can yoke up to and cowboy up, you know. Things are different now. And they can be for you too. I mean, things will never, you never forget. Let's put it that way. You never forget. I still have nightmares about some of the things I've seen. I still have nightmares about things I've been through. You know, just think, you know, some, and you know, if you have PTSD, there's certain things that trigger, and you're set right back into that place where it's, you have no control. It's like you just react just like you would have back when it actually happened. You know, I mean, it happens. But that doesn't mean you're alone. That doesn't mean that nobody's going to care. And you're not a burden. I can promise you that. I know some people may make you feel like that. And those are the kind of people you don't need to be around. And you need to tell these people. You need to open up and be real with these people. Stop holding it in. Stop allowing yourself to be that burden. And because you're not. You know what? A lot of you, I guarantee you, if it wasn't for the fact that you're here, somebody else wouldn't be here. You are holding someone else's life together. If I wasn't here, my son Gabriel would probably be in a worse off place. God only knows. I mean, I know now, you know, my mom wouldn't have been able to take him in. My husband probably wouldn't have kept him. To be honest with you, my husband probably would have committed suicide too. Had I gone through, or, you know, was successful. You know, I don't think that, you know, I think my son probably would have ended up growing up with he probably would have ended up with either in foster care or with his biological family, which is not good because, you know, like I said before, his dad was abusive. Moses, don't. No. Hey, really? And so he does it anyway. Open the door again. But like I said, you know, I mean, whoa, you're not alone. No, I need the door open. Move. Come on. Come out of the door. Thank you. Leave it open. So yeah, just know you're not alone. You know, things suck. Life sucks. Life can be downright awful. I know that. Life can be downright awful. Dealing with people sucks. I know that. I know that from experience. But to be honest with you, I'd rather surround myself with 10,000 of you people who feel just like I felt than anyone else. Because I know somebody else has been there. Think about that for one moment. If you could surround yourself with people, wouldn't you want to know there's somebody out there that feels just like you felt or feel? and has gone through what you have gone through. I encourage you today to reach out to somebody. Reach out and seek out somebody, anybody, even if it's not me. I know you don't know me. A lot of you don't know me and probably never will. I don't know. Maybe I'll get lucky enough to meet one of you guys one day and be like, hey, I watched your video. You know, you saved my life. That'd be awesome. But that's not my goal here. That's not my goal. My goal is to reach somebody and encourage you to look for somebody, even if it's not me. I want you to find somebody and realize your potential. Realize that you're not alone. Realize your purpose. You know, I mean, if you take nothing else from this, I got dust falling from the ceiling. I apologize. I need to clean that fan. If you take nothing else from this, take this. No matter what you've been through, there's always something there that you can yoke up to and get through it. Nothing is ever too great that you've got to end your life. Like I said, you know, I went to church, and church may not be everybody's thing. You may not even believe in God, but that was my thing. That is my thing, and I do believe in God. I'm a Christian, and I rededicated my life shortly after that. I ended up going to this encounter thing with my church, where, and this is trippy, I had this dream, a reoccurring dream for 3 months. Leading up to this encounter this retreat that I went on, and it was always the same dream. Like I said, it was recurring. That I was talking to this guy, and this guy told me I was going to write a book, and I realized in my dream that it was God I was talking to. You know, dude in a white suit with a gold tie, but I couldn't see his face, and I was sitting on a park bench and staring out at this little pond in this park. And, you know, it was always a beautiful, sunny morning, I guess. It was either morning or evening. I don't know. It was like twilight kind of thing. Okay. Okay. Maybe you'll be kibbies. Sorry. Anyhow. Oh, I see what you want. No. You don't need that. No candies right now. Eat your sandwich. Hey, what's up, kitty? So anyhow, I went on this retreat thing, and at this retreat, you know, the church I go to is a very apostolic church, so they're one of those that, you know, you speak in tongues and gifts by the Holy Spirit and all that jazz, you know. And at the time I didn't believe none of that, but I liked what they preached, you know. You know, it felt real. You don't need no more candies. Now stop. Anyhow, so go eat your sandwich. So, oh, watch out, cat. Come on, watch out. So, I went on this retreat, and while we were at this retreat, you know, people started doing the whole gifts by the Spirit thing, speaking in tongues and whatnot. They were praying over people, and I seen some trippy stuff. Like, I thought, somebody had slipped me some LSD or something. I didn't know what was going on, because out of nowhere, I was like, God, if this is real, I don't know about all this. I was just basically what I said. I was like, I don't know about all this. This can't be real. People don't really do this stuff. This ain't real, right? And all of a sudden, I was watching, and you know how you watch the TV and you see those preachers who pray over people and the people just fall over. Well, that started happening. Whoa. So I was watching, you know, people pray. I was sitting in the seat. I wasn't going to get up. I was sitting in the seat, and I started watching people, and they was being prayed over. And right before they would drop, it was like this little shot of light just come down and just hit them on the head, and they fell. And they just fell right there. Well, I was like, what? I was like, do you see this? And my husband was sitting next to me. I was like, do you see this? Do you see this crap, man? He was like, what are you talking about? I'm about to go up and pray. What are you talking about? Like, go ahead. That's what I ain't about to get hit with no beam of light. You know, I was like, whatever. So he went up there, and my husband was one of those people. And he asked his friends, you know, he's one of them people that used to make fun of them churches like that, you know. Like, there's this one guy who was like, take his jacket and smack people with it, and they would fall over. It's like the Holy Spirit is so powerful. He just, you know, he fell over. Right. Hold on a second. Let me get this kid some chips. There you go. You can have that. That's fine. I'll let you have chips, but you're not eating no more candies. It's Valentine's Day, so they got Valentine's this morning, so he's been trying to fill up on chocolate. This crap. But anyway. So, yeah. That's a little bit, that's not good for you, but I'd rather you eat that than any more candies. And make sure you brush your teeth when you're done. But anyhow. So, yeah. My husband didn't believe in all that. You know, he'd make fun of people like that. He's like, oh, you're gonna fall down. Oh, you know, he'd make fun of them. So he goes up there and he's like, I'm gonna get prayed for. I'm gonna see what it's about. And he got prayed for. And one little shots of light came down, and he was out. Like, he fell. Like, when he fell, you know, one of the pastors called him and he laid him on the ground. And I was like, Lewis. And I shook him. Lewis, he wasn't moving. Like, he was out. Cold. Gone. Like, I was like, so I went up to the pastor. I went up to the pastor. I was like, Pastor, I gotta talk to you. Like, I didn't know this stuff was for real. And before I could even really say anything else, Pastor stopped me and put his hand on my head. And he just started telling me this dream. Remember the dream I was having earlier that I told you about? That I had recurring? Well, he told me word for word this dream. And I was like, the trip just don't stop. So, I was like, wigged out, right? And so I had seen like these little lights. Like I said, I thought I was high. I thought somebody done slipped me something. And then my husband passed out. You know, he got knocked out. And then the pastor told me my dream that I was having. Like, how's that even a thing? Well, so needless to say, I was like, all right, this has got to be real. So I started praying and whatnot, and I actually had another dream that night, and I ended up following through with it. And I did write a book. It hasn't been published yet. I don't exactly have the funds to pay for publishing right now, but it will get published. God promised me that, you know, He will provide a way. Matter of fact, when I started the book, I didn't even know what to title it, and God was like, don't worry about it. And then, like, 3 days into writing the book, I was given a title by a customer at Waffle House, no doubt. And then that's something else too. Like, after that, like, my whole life changed. Like I said, you know, people hated me at work. One of the kids that hated me ended up becoming one of my best friends at the time. Like, I remember at the beginning of the video, of course it's been a while ago, how I've been on this thing for an hour, but I was talking about my friend Thomas. Well, he was one of the people that hated me. He became a really good friend. And, like, he even told me every day, like, you've changed. There's something different about you. And, you know, we ended up taking Waffle House. We had all of Waffle House talking about God, talking about Jesus. And it was crazy. Like, it was mad insane. And then one of, like, the new manager that came in, I later found out that he actually goes to the church that I go to. And it was, I don't know, it was just like life had completely changed for me. You know, I mean, I still had those moments where, you know, PTSD would kick in and I'd have that just flood my whole brain and my whole body, and it was just like everything would go black again. I mean, but I always could yoke up, you know, and we had a lot to work through, my husband and I. I mean, we actually didn't even really completely come out of our rut, like, between us, probably for almost 2 years, like right before my son was born. And even after that, like, we had problems clear up until about 6 months ago. But since then, though, like, I'm telling y'all, like, he's even a different person. He's actually gotten to where, like, he don't even, I don't know how to explain it. Like, he's different. Like, the stuff that he did before, he don't do it no more. He'd rather, he's one of them people that would choose something Christian over something that's secular. Like, he'd rather listen to Need to Breathe or Lacey Stern as opposed to listening to some junk on the radio that, is gonna, like, I can't even. He'd rather listen to Need to Breathe or Lacey Stern than Evanescence or whatever, just like, and I mean, not that there's anything wrong with Evanescence. I'm just giving an example. He'd rather watch a Christian movie like Courageous as opposed to watching some junk on the TV like Friday or whatever the name of the movie is. Next Friday, Friday After Next, all those. He'd rather watch, some, Christian. But anyhow, like I'm saying, it's just, he's changed. And things have changed between us. We've mended the things that happened in our past. And like I said earlier, I kept accidentally calling him my ex because the old Lewis is gone. Like, he really did leave. And it's like a whole different person. And that's not me that did that. I mean, like, I'm a different person, but that's not me that did that. That's God that did that. Like I said, I still deal with the anxiety. I still deal with the PTSD. I still don't like dealing with people. I mean, I'm on here making a video instead of actually going out and preaching this. I mean, I probably should one day. I mean, maybe God will give me enough strength one day I could actually get up and speak this out loud to somebody else. But, face to face or over some people. But, like, no. Only people I really like dealing with are my kids and my family and a few of the people at church. But I have a few friends, but outside of that, something else too. Remember the friend that I got into a fight with? As I was writing the book, I felt God tugging at my heart really bad about that, because I realized after everything went down at the church and whatnot, I started going to church every Sunday, and, I've only missed a few Sundays, only when we're sick, and then one Sunday when my daughter ended up with head lice, we didn't go. But, we went through, we were going through the sermon one Sunday about, bitterness and forgiveness and whatnot, and how if you spend your life not forgiving people, it can actually hurt you, and then how sometimes you really just need to be forgiven by other people, or at least ask for it. And so I was thinking about it, though. I was thinking about, like, how can you ask for forgiveness for something whenever you don't feel like you need to be forgiven, like you were right? And then I was like, well, maybe I was wrong and I just didn't see the wrong. So I started asking God to show me the wrong. And I realized it, how much, I was taking out what was wrong with me out on the kid, out on her kid, and on her and her family. How they didn't deserve that and all that. And so it really hit me, and I wrote her a message, and while I was writing that book, and I was actually at work one night, I ended up working for the same security company my husband did, and I was writing her a letter, and I didn't even think she would respond. Honestly, I thought she would probably block me, but I did it anyways. I was like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. She ended up messaging me that very next morning, and we mended everything. Like, I mean, it took some time, for us to get back to the way things were, and I mean, we're still not completely, 100% up each other's butt all the time like we used to be, but I'd still do anything for her. I mean, I've gone out in the middle of the night. She woke me up in the middle of the night one night to go give her gas, and she can still call me over anything, and I'd be there to whoop anybody who hurt her. When it comes to a brotherhood, that is a sister that that definitely is in the brotherhood. But like I said, there's things that I know, and there's a lot of things that doesn't seem like It can be fixed by God. So give me a drink. All this talking I'm doing. Like, for instance, the stuff that you see overseas. You know, the people coming off of helicopters, watching your brothers and your sisters get their arms or legs blown off, or worse, dying, or even hearing about it. You know, there's certain things that God can't take away. Like, he can't stop it. You know, unfortunately, this world is corrupt. But you can do exactly what I'm doing. Think about how your family would feel. I mean, okay, some of you, like me, may feel like your family doesn't care, doesn't love you. You're a burden to them. But think about this. You know your best friend, your brother, who just got blown up by an IUD, has an old lady at home. And she's going to be devastated. Maybe you can reach out to her. You know, find a purpose. Find a purpose to help bring you out of that. You know, I've had a friend that actually reached out to the parents of somebody, and that's like his second family now, you know. There's always something you can do. There's always somebody out there who cares too. You know, if you feel like that person that just doesn't want to be alive anymore because of all the crap that you've been through, you just can't deal with anymore. Maybe you need somebody to yoke up to. I'm gonna encourage you to find that somebody. Even if it's, you know, I'm gonna just put this out there. I encourage you to try to seek it out for yourself and see if God is right for you. Because, like I said, I didn't think it was. I got tired of hearing everybody tell me it was and nothing happening. I got tired of it. I got tired of it seeming like no matter what I did, no matter what I tried, it ain't working. So I yoked up to something greater. Maybe I can encourage you to do the same thing. You know, I hope this video reaches somebody out there. I hope this video reaches somebody and it helps pull you out of that rut, pulls you out of that black hole. You know, replay this video over and over again. Share it. Repeat it. You know, if you got to, you can message me or call me up. You know, you can find me on Facebook. I will be there to talk to you. I mean, I'll put my I'll add my Facebook link in the comments so you guys can find me on there. You know, I know this stuff is real. I know what you've been through. And I know it's not easy. But I can promise you that it does get better. There is hope anyways. I mean, I still, like I said, I still go through stuff. I still deal with it. But I have hope now, and it's a lot easier for me to come out of it than it ever was. Before, once I got into it, I couldn't come out of it. Now, I can at least recognize it and come out of it. Don't let yourself be in that rut like that. Don't let yourself get sucked into that black hole, man. Find somebody. Reach out. I'm reaching out to you. Come on. We can do this. As a brotherhood, let's stand together for each other. If nobody else will stand for the United States veterans or the people who suffered from bullying and abuse, then who will? Let's be a brotherhood united and stand together for each other. Alright? I love you guys for real. You will always be my brothers, sailors, soldiers, no matter what. We are a brotherhood. Even if you weren't in the military. I know it seems like I keep focusing on just them, but I mean, if you weren't in the military and you just dealt with abuse, you may not have seen somebody, you may have seen somebody get shot. You may have seen somebody die, like Lacey. You may have witnessed somebody getting beat to death. You may have been that person that almost got beat to death. You're part of this brotherhood too. We are the brotherhood of humanity. Let's stand together, y'all. All right? Let's stand together for each other and stand together with Christ. I'm asking y'all. All right? I love you guys. Later.